Hello, friends. It's Kim with the Coffee with Kim show. Well, we're behind the scenes in sunny California, getting ready to film our next episode. So go grab your coffee, call a friend, get ready. You're not going to believe who's going to be stopping by for coffee.
And I've got the joy deep down in my heart. I'm waking up with your love from the start. I'm chasing the rainbow through the rain. I know it's gonna be a beautiful day.
Sometimes life seems like a roller coaster, doesn't it? Have you ever paused to wonder why some people struggle to get through life circumstances while others find a way to grow through them? Today's guest is one who grew through. She was raised in a tough part of Boston, was physically and emotionally abused, was put into foster care at age 14, and spent the next several years going from home to home. Yet in spite of all this, she held on to hope. At age 21, she moved to LA to pursue her dream of acting. And since then, she's appeared in featured films like Star Trek Into Darkness, I Can Only Imagine, Mother's Day, and Unbroken, Path to Redemption. In addition to acting, she's an advocate for benefits of plant-based nutrition and is the founder of a foundation that works with foster youth, sex-trafficked women, and animal rescues to help them feel safe, loved, and supported. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee, Conversations of Friends of Faith to Encourage and Equip. I'm Kim Crabill, your host. Are you as anxious as I am to hear from our guest today? Well, then grab your coffee, because after this very short break, Gianna Simone will be joining us as she shares her remarkable story of hope that has carried her through so much and made her an inspiration to so many.
Kim Crabill knows all about hidden shame and regret. From the time she experienced a life-altering trauma at age 4, Kim became an expert in hiding her hurt and confusion. The trick she discovered was to sing a little louder in church and to smile a little wider with friends. In her transparent story, Burdens to Blessings, Kim invites you along the journey from shame and sadness towards healing and hope. In the process, you'll encounter the upside-down truth that God uses you because of your hurt and uncertainty. Order your copy of Burdens to Blessings right away at Amazon.com or simply go to www.kimcrabill.org and click on the Shop button. Discover the confidence and courage to be you again, and discover the power of your story. Along the way, you'll help other hurting people change their burdens to blessings.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee. It's so good to have you joining us today. And oh my goodness, what a special treat we have, because we have Gianna Simone. Hello, my friend.
Hello, everyone.
It's so
Hi,
good
Kim.
to see you.
So good to see you and be here with you again.
You look gorgeous.
Right back at you,
Oh,
beauty.
thank you. Oh my goodness, you've been busy, girl. You're doing
Yes.
a lot. And you've accomplished a lot. And I think it's because of the big heart that you have. But before we go into all that, we're going to talk about everything that's on your bio, or not everything, but some of those things. But, one of the things I want to share is what is something about Gianna Simone that's not on her bio? And maybe I might be thinking about some rope stuff that you like to do.
You're so funny. I will tell you all about aerial acrobatics. I got into it about 10 years ago, and I saw it during a show that my friend took me to, and I was just mesmerized. And I looked at it, and I was like, I have to do that. Now, I had done gymnastics and dance and aerial yoga
Now,
in the
explain to
past.
everybody what that is.
So I don't know if people know about aerial yoga, but it's this fabric that hangs from the ceiling.
Yes.
And it's sort of like a hammock, or aerial silks is 2 fabrics. And they can be anywhere from 15 feet to 40 feet up in the air, maybe even higher with Cirque du Soleil shows. And I saw this show, and I was just, like I said, mesmerized. And I went up to the owner of the theater, theater that was having this show perform at. And I said, I need to be in this show. And he was like, okay, well, I can give your number to the aerial coordinator. And I said, no. I need to speak to them now. It was like I was on fire and I just wanted to be in the show. I had no authority to be talking like this. Like I didn't have the training at all.
But you had the passion.
But I had the passion and the belief and the drive, and something was speaking to me inside. So I ended up talking to the aerial coordinator, and he was like, you can have an audition. Come to our studio. I think he said like in a couple of weeks, and we'll audition you. And I was like, oh no. I wasn't really expecting that, but I have to get ready. I have to train.
Yes.
And so I signed up at a local place where they teach you how to do aerial acrobatics, like aerial hoop, and aerial silks, and trapeze. And so I realized how challenging it was.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
I thought, man, I have a couple weeks to prepare. How am I ever going to do this? So I think it was just leading me to that passion, because it's been 10 years since that day. And I actually got an opportunity to audition for this show, but it was years later, and I was already involved, like deep in acting, and I just didn't want to tour with a show and perform with a show. But it really led me to being able to express myself and really learn. There's a lot of life lessons that this hard thing teaches me every day. Like I get so scared sometimes. I'll be like 30 feet up in the air and I'll be ready to do a drop, and I'll be so scared and I'll just whisper, Jesus.
You should be
Jesus.
scared. Let me just tell you should be scared. And that's why I text you and go, quit that. You're scaring me. But it's so beautiful. And I'm
Thank
sure
you.
that we're probably showing some videos of it now. But it's so beautiful. And to me, maybe it goes with what I know about you, what little I know about you in your past. It just seems like it would be so freeing.
It is.
It seems so spiritually driven to me. Do you feel that in it?
Yes.
I know we have so much to talk about.
I'll
but
put
I do
on
want to
praise and worship music, and
Yeah.
I'll just get lost in it, and it's such a beautiful artistic way to express my love for Jesus.
Yes.
And use the gifts and calling that he's led me to different areas that I feel so passionate about, and I know that he's led all of us to experience different things that is our calling, and this is part of it, and it's just so humbling to be able to have the strength, the physical strength to do it, the mental capacity to get over the fears, and it teaches me so much. And I think it on a deeper level, I think it teaches my brain to do scary things that are risky but calculated risks.
Right.
You know, I'll learn them low to the ground, and then I'll go up high, and then I'll do them, but I'll still get scared, and it teaches my brain to overcome things.
Yes.
And you know, courage isn't the, what is that saying? Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing things despite it.
Exactly.
And I think it teaches my brain too,
Yes.
and my body to do things despite fear.
Yes. Well, and I just love that. And, you know, and God tells us to be strong and of good courage, you know, to do that. And it is so beautiful. It does scare me. I will always pretend like your mom and text you and tell you, slow down or come down. But I do love that. And I think that as believers that it's fun to find those places where we can be still, be quiet in the midst of all that. So I love that. Let's keep going, though, because, oh, my goodness, our time is running out.
Oh, my goodness.
So you've been in a lot of movies.
Yes.
Let's think back. Is there one movie that you maybe personally connected with, or is a highlight? I know that that's a horrible question to ask as far as, because there's no favorites, but is there one that you just kind of found yourself in?
You know, every time I'm on set, I have I go inward and I really connect to the Holy Spirit and thank God for bringing me to each set that I am blessed with to be on. Mm-hmm. And it's a very spiritual experience to be in your calling.
Yes.
And just realizing how far. I just worked on a feature film a couple months ago. Actually, it hasn't even been a couple months. Maybe it's been a month and a half. And it was in Boston, and I'm from Boston. And it was actually the filming location was about a block away from a group home that I was in, one of the foster homes I was in. And driving to set, I drove by that group home. And it was such a realization that with God, all things are possible, that he can take. I mean, I had some of the most challenging, emotionally, mentally, spiritually challenging times in that home, even physically. And it was so dark and hopeless. I remember sitting on the stairs with one of my foster sisters and looking at her and just saying, is it ever going to get better? Is it ever going to change? And it was so scary and so painful and so hopeless.
Yes.
And driving by that home where I said those words to somebody and realizing how far God takes us and the pain and the struggle, and he brings us to such high highs. And only because of him. I was just reading Psalm 19:11 the other day, and his laws are so wonderful. They're more valuable than gold, it says. And when we follow his laws, it brings us to success. It brings us to hidden treasure, and it steers us away from pain and things that aren't good for us. And what he says to do and what he says not to do is for a reason, and it's for our benefit.
Yes.
And I learned that, and I'm so grateful I learned that. And I want to tell the world and share the world that you can do it too. If I did it and I came out of such low lows, you can do it too. You can do all things with Jesus.
All things.
Literally.
Nothing. We're not bound by statistics. We're not bound by abandonment. We're not bound by anything. But let's go back there, because I so admire you and your story. Let's go back to some of the pain, because we're living in a society where there's so much, we know, there's so much hurt, there's so much pain, and we don't know what to do with it. People are turning to social media. They're turning to all kinds of things. Right now, the suicidal rate is just escalating. Drug addiction, there's just so much, because we're not sure what to do. So tell us some of the things. Go back to how it all started, your pain, or as much of it, Gianna, as you want to share today.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and thank you for the opportunity, and for anybody who may be listening that my story could help. And I never want to shame anybody. When I share my story, I've been through things, and I've been abused, and I've been betrayed, and we all have our pain that we walk through and our hurts. And there's several things that I've done in my life that I've seen how God pulled me out of those things. And so I share my past not to shame anybody, but to give people hope. And so I
Yes.
just want to preface, when I tell my story,
Thank
that's
I love that.
that's my hope
Yes.
and my intention. So when I was, listen, it wasn't perfect. Like, I was a little bit of a wild child because I wasn't feeling loved, and I had
Right.
no bumpers,
Of
like
course.
I was just figuring things out, and I was searching, and I didn't have anybody speaking God's word into me until I decided to work out at a local gym, and I would work out there like all day long, like 10 hours a day. And I've struggled with eating disorders and over exercising, and so I went to this gym.
That was your control. But
Yes. And I know you've walked through some of that as well. And so I would go to this gym, and the owner of this gym would ask me, like, hey, where are your parents, and why are you not in school, and what's going on? So I confided in her, and I told her the truth, and she just took me under her wing, and she would bring me to a local non-denominational Christian church, and everybody was raising their hands and praise and worship, and I would go in there, and I would think, wow, these people are just lost, but I was the lost one.
Yes.
And so I was kind of projecting
Yes.
like my feelings onto them, but they were so free. And then the more I kept going, the more I learned about how God sees me and what Christ has done for us.
Yes.
And I just learned, and it was a slow growth. It wasn't like overnight, nothing wild happened, but at 16 years old, I became a born again Christian. I gave my life to Christ, and from that moment on, my career started, and I started tithing, and just so many things. So I think physical health is very, very important, because I could have gone down a path with drugs and alcohol and promiscuity,
Very
but working
easily.
out and being physically healthy was so important. And so I'm glad that I had that outlet to
Yes.
physically work out the anger and the emotions that I was struggling with and working through. And then I was led to healthy eating, like what really was healthy eating, because I had walked through eating disorders and anorexia and bulimia and food restriction and binging, purging, and I just had this. We have needs, right? Like, we want to be thin, we want to be beautiful as women, and even men, want to be strong or athletic, and the protectors. And so sometimes if we have these needs and we don't know healthy ways to meet these needs, we end up meeting these needs through ways that actually hurt us. When we can meet our needs, and this is so relevant to what Christ does for us too, we can meet our needs through loving ourselves
Yes.
and through love. So,
And for some reason, we think that we shouldn't love ourselves. You
I
know,
know.
it seems people seem to think that that's selfish, but that's in the commandments to love others as we love ourselves. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt,
it's okay.
but I think that we're so hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And isn't it true that sometimes the voices that we have heard from our past in abusive situations, or what they play like a tape running through our minds, and so we have to figure out a way. And especially for those who are listening today, you know, if you're in a hopeless situation and you don't have an outlet, what do? Gianna, what were some of the things that you did that when you felt like you were at your lowest, before you accepted Christ, or maybe afterwards? If we could have crawled into your mind, what were you thinking? Because so many people don't grow through, they barely get through, and so many now are not. So take us into a mindset, maybe of someone who's feeling that hopelessness. You know, what are some practical things that you did that they could maybe begin to practice?
I honestly, and I can only speak from my experience, right?
Yes.
And then I think we go through certain things too. So people who are struggling and walking through painful times, know that you're going through something, and with God, you can come out of it. And then when you come out of it fully equipped.
Yes.
And you're able to then help people with all the tools you now have in your tool chest
Yes.
from coming out of that.
Yes.
And so it's not a setback, it's a set up.
Yes.
To have your testimony really touch others who are going through the same exact thing that you went through or similar.
Yes.
And so some of the things I did, and it wasn't perfect, like I said, all the time. I worked out a lot. I started going to church a lot. The woman who was taking me to church actually passed away, and then that rocked my world. And so,
Now, were you still in a foster home at that point, or had you gotten older?
yes, I was still in foster care.
Because
Yes.
how many foster homes were you in? You were in several, or do you even know?
I was in I think I was in about 6 or 7. By the time I counted the other day, by the time I was about 21, I had moved to 21 different places, 21 different homes.
Now, if I may ask, what caused you to be in foster homes?
Abuse and neglect, physical abuse and neglect.
From your parents, and so you were taken from the home.
Yes. Yeah. And you know, I forgive them and I love them.
Yes.
And everybody's capable of change. I'm a sinner too. I've seriously messed up in my life, so I understand.
And I love that. That's why you're not shaming anyone.
Yes.
And I love that. What does the Bible say? For we have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And I love the heart of forgiveness, because that's really what sets us free. When we talk about you doing the aerial, what do you call it?
Aerial acrobatics,
yes.
or silks.
You know, that is a representation to me of freedom.
Yeah.
Of what you've experienced on the inside. So, so where were we in this? So you were brought out of that home. You went into so many of these foster homes.
Yes.
You know what it's like to feel abandoned, rejected, all these things that the world is so full of. But and I love what you said. Once you get through it, it's an equipping.
Yeah.
Because the Bible says to comfort others with the same comfort that I've comforted you. So it really is a setup to really be able to minister in your own very special way.
And I know too that God has given me a mission here, and I really dive into that mission. And I think he sets it up. He's so wonderful in the way he gives us these gifts and our mission here and our purpose.
Yes.
It's for a reason. There's nobody like you, and will never be anybody like you, and there has never been anybody like you. We are not a 1 in a million, not a 1 in a billion, once in a forever.
So like God kind of broke the mold when he made us?
Yes. And so he put us here for a very important,
and unique,
very specific, unique purpose.
Yes.
And so I'm so thankful that I know that, and I've been able to follow that, and it's been very scary at times, but it's so fulfilling and it's so beautiful to step into God's calling for my life. And that really brought me through so many challenging times, just knowing that I've been called to be an actress. I've been called to be in films. I've been called to be in Hollywood, and he's called me, and it's by his work that I'm even sitting here alive today and sane and able to speak to you and to share all this. And it's because of him. It's because of him, and it's for him. And it's my honor and my privilege and pleasure to be able to share the love, the beautiful, all-encompassing, majestic, incredible, awesome love of Jesus. That's what it's all about.
It is. And I pause because that's so touching because, we hear all the time, and I talked about this earlier today, we hear about the bad and the negative, but there's still so many good people in the world. And that's why I love this format, to be able for people to meet Gianna Simone. We see you on the set and in the movies, but to really be able to hear your heart, how that just speaks to our younger generation and gives them hope. And don't you think that's really what we need today is hope?
Yes, I still need hope on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, on a minute basis.
Yeah.
I need hope, and I cling to Jesus. The older I get and the more life experience I have, I realize how deeply we all need him. And it's not like, I'm just not saying that mindlessly. It's with honesty and seriousness that we need. He is our only hope, and we need him. And we need to really understand what he says to do and says to stay away from, and take it very seriously. Mm-hmm. And we thrive when we do, and we suffer when we don't. And he doesn't want us to suffer.
One of the things that you said that I like to go back to is the fact so many times people feel like they want to run from God because they feel like, oh, he is a don't do this God. Do this, don't do this. And I love what you touched on is that when he does ask us to not do something, and it doesn't cause him to love us anymore any less, but when he does, it's because it is a protective move for us.
It's for our benefit.
Right. So talk to someone about that, because people feel like that God is so restrictive when really he's trying to get us onto the path to open up, not only to give us life, he says, but the abundant life. So that's opening up a life that we would not know unless we surrendered our life, or maybe our wants, to his will.
Yeah. I've lived a life where I didn't really know him or wasn't really abiding in what he says. And I look back and I just thank him for his protection. I mean, he was so graceful and merciful in the ways and the areas that I didn't, and that's another reason why I don't want to shame anybody, because we can all change. We can all change, and we're all capable of it. And to understand that we're all on our journey. Yeah. So I think just continuing to understand that it's every time that we may not know why he says not to do something in his word, we can just trust him. Mm-hmm. He would never hurt us. He would never harm us. And this is coming from somebody who's been very abused and harmed and neglected and not treated so well in different areas. So, but I have been in other areas, and it's because of him. I'm thankful for the people who have shown me love, and his love he's working through people, and I'm so grateful for those people and those friends that I consider family. I'm so grateful. Those people have changed my life as well. And so I would say stay close to those people.
Yes.
And seek his word, and seek leaders who understand his word and who can help guide you in times of confusion or I'm struggling with this. We all go through that.
Be proactive. Be proactive. We're going to have to take just a short break. We're going to be back. But I love what you're saying is that take your life, be in charge of it. Don't feel like a victim. Stand up and do, because the Bible says that we are more than conquerors through Christ, right? So we'll be right back to finish up this, which I hate to finish it up, but we're going to have to. So we'll be right back.
The most amazing gift one could ever receive is knowing how deeply we are loved by God. Yet it's the very thing we sometimes struggle with and fail to comprehend. To learn more, Kim Crabill will send you this devotional treasure titled Cherished. These pages contain a daily dose of his infinite love for you. The 365 daily readings will help you take your eyes off the day's demands and focus on the God who loves you more than you can ever imagine. God will show us all how active and personal he can be in life as he brings this courage to our lives. We will all discover the joy of recognizing and responding to daily opportunities to encourage and uplift others. To get a copy rushed to you right away, simply go to Amazon.com or directly to Kim's website at www.kimcrabill.org.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee. Well, we only have a couple of minutes left with my dear friend. I just love you so much, Gianna.
I love you too.
You know, I think about your story, and parts of it breaks my heart because of the sadness. And I know what that's like. I've lived some of that. But oh my gosh, I delight in what God has done in and through you. But here's my question as we close today. You talked about that little girl sitting on the steps who looked at her sister and said, "Is there any hope? Will we ever get out of this?" Now, where you are, if you could go back and talk and answer that question, what would you say to her?
You're gonna make me cry again, Kim. Making me cry.
It's okay.
I would say that Jesus is your vindicator. He's your protector. He's your provider. He's not going to let anybody hurt you ever again. He won't let anybody mess with you. And he hasn't. And he's protected me. He's protected me, and he's just made life so beautiful. And so like I said before, if he's done it for me, he can do it for you. And
he will.
And he will. And he's just the best. He's just the best, and I'm so grateful. I don't know what I would do without him.
And you'll never, ever have to know.
I know.
Because he says those that he holds in his hand, that no one will ever be able to snatch them out. No more abandonment, no more issues like that. He's got you right in the grip of his hand. Gianna, thank you so much. I just love you so much. And, and to our listeners, to our friends, I just want to thank you so much for joining us. Oh, my goodness, what an incredible way to close out this season with such realness and real hope. All you have to do is do what Gianna did. Call out to him. Jesus is there. He's waiting. He summons us. He says, "Come unto me, all you who are weary, and I will give you rest." So please call upon his name. And thank you so much for joining me for coffee. It has been such a pleasure to have you. And as I always say, go out and start your own conversation. You have important things to say. And trust me, the ones that God puts along your path are just the ones that he has put there for you to encourage and equip. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'll see you next time on Coffee. Goodbye, everybody.
The most amazing gift one could ever receive is knowing how deeply we are loved by God. Yet it's the very thing we sometimes struggle with and fail to comprehend. To learn more, Kim Crabill will send you this devotional treasure titled Cherished. These pages contain a daily dose of his infinite love for you. The 365 daily readings will help you take your eyes off the day's demands and focus on the God who loves you more than you can ever imagine. God will show us all how active and personal he can be in life as he brings this courage to our lives. We will all discover the joy of recognizing and responding to daily opportunities to encourage and uplift others. To get a copy rushed to you right away, simply go to Amazon.com or directly to Kim's website at www.kimcrabill.org.